These are the subjects today. Okay. All right, guys, we have things to do. Someday it'll be about science in the morning.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We can always hope.
Oh, hi, Dr. Kaplan.
Good morning.
Hi, what are you doing right now?
We're having breakfast with our new PhD students.
Well, who's everyone with you right now?
They can introduce themselves. How was that for deflection? I'm good at this.
Hey, I'm Sean.
Hi, I'm James.
I'm Peter.
I'm Ellie.
I'm Doug.
I'm Lizzie.
Hiya.
I'm Davin.
We're at the Ball Square Cafe. What's your go-to order?
Mine? Cheese omelet, always.
That sounds delicious. What's your all-time favorite breakfast food?
All-time favorite breakfast food? Probably just a toasted English muffin. Okay. See you guys later. Okay. Bye. Bye. Have a good day.
What's your least favorite breakfast food?
Oh, least favorite. Anything with raisins in it. Okay. When you cook raisins, they just have a kind of a larval texture that no one wants to eat.
Let's play a game of Would You Rather. Savory or sweet breakfast?
Savory, always savory.
Ooh, fascinating. Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles, hands down, always waffles.
Scrambled or sunny side up?
Scrambled, scrambled, scrambled.
Toasted with butter or jam?
Butter.
Dark roast or light roast coffee?
I don't care about the roast as long as it's full of caffeine.
Whole wheat or white toast?
White toast with the butter again.
Sausage or bacon?
Bacon.
Turkey sausage or pork sausage?
Turkey sausage.
Honey nut or regular Cheerios?
Regular, always regular.
Well, enough about breakfast. What's your favorite restaurant around Tufts?
Favorite restaurant? It depends on the meal. So, for example, breakfast, Ball Square Cafe by far. For lunch, Yoshi's in Powder House. And any time of the day, either Dunkin's or Starbucks for coffee.
Oh yes, I love Dunkin'. So where are you headed right now?
I'm headed from our breakfast with the students to my car to head back to the lab.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how the department started?
Sure, yeah. We were now about 21 years old as a department. And back around 2000, a number of faculty, including myself, got together to formulate a BME department for the university. And it was really prompted by student interest, and that led us to propose the new department, which took a few years to get in place, but once it did, then we were off and running. So we're a little over 20 years old.
Have you always liked working in academia?
I love working in academia. I started out in government after my PhD, and then started teaching part-time, and then eventually migrated back to an academic environment at Tufts. It's been almost 30 years.
What was the part you liked the most?
I mean, by far the best part of academics is working with students at all levels.
So when did you start the Cell Ag Lab?
So the Cell Ag Lab really started in earnest when Natalie Rubio started in the program. So roughly 7 years ago, when our first full-time dedicated PhD students started. We did have a lot of activities back in the late, 2010-ish timeframe. We started a little bit in the field, but it wasn't a full-time effort. It was a part-time effort back then. So really about 7 years ago is when we really started to build the program.
I know there have been 3 recent PhD graduates from your Cell Ag Lab. Can you tell us more about them?
Yes. The 3 students are Natalie, John, and Andrew, and the last of the 3 just defended their PhD day before yesterday. That was John. Natalie defended a year ago, and Andrew about a month ago. They are all three of them are just truly amazing people, number one, and fantastic scientists to go with being amazing people. And they're really our foundation for our program. They really helped build this program to where it is today.
Oh, that's so awesome. They all seem like pioneers in this field.
They are, for sure.
I heard there were 5 new PhD students this year. What? Was that exciting to see so much interest?
I think it's remarkable to see how much interest there is in the program and in Cell Ag at the graduate student level, at the undergraduate student level as well, and at the postdoctoral student level. So yeah, it's really wonderful to see it.
So how many people are in the lab now?
In our Cell Ag program, we have about 20 graduate students or postdocs, and then we have at least equal number of undergraduates to that in the program.
Oh wow, that's a lot. Did you expect this lab to become so popular?
I had no clue. It's been amazing to see the amount of interest and how it's grown over the 7 years since it really began in earnest.
What's your biggest motivation?
My students, making sure they're engaged and pursuing their career interests and getting in the lab and experiencing the opportunities.
What is something you're really excited about at work right now?
What am I really excited about? I would say many of our science efforts are really progressing well. So every day we have a lot of good progress on different aspects of Cell Ag. So it's pretty exciting to watch what's happening.
On a similar note, what are you most excited about in life?
What am I excited about in life? So many things. I would just say in general, in the context of Cell Ag, just seeing how the field is growing at a very rapid pace and starting to see impact, like recent regulatory approval, and seeing more labs getting involved, more students getting involved in the field.
It's important to be transparent. So what is something that isn't so exciting at work?
Oh, so for me, anything at work that involves administration is just nothing I enjoy, right? So I enjoy my students and the science. Everything else, no thanks. So,
What does your day-to-day look like?
there is no standard day-to-day. Every day is complete chaos in a great way, other than when I have my teaching times, which I love, but otherwise it's meetings, discussions, incomplete planning in a good way. So everything's new every day.
When did you first hear about lab-grown meat?
Really when Natalie started. I mean, I was aware of it a little bit, but not till Natalie started, like I said, about 7 years ago when she started, we started to hear a lot. I heard a lot more about it, started to look at videos, etc.
And what made you want to get into this field?
Students that came in with such passion about the field and making a difference. And the more you read about it, the more you understand how we eat what we eat today, where it comes from, the more you want to really try and make a difference.
Why do you think alternative proteins are so important?
Oh my gosh, there's so many reasons. The science and technology behind their production is number one amazing, right? It's great science going to a good cause. And, in terms of making a difference, in terms of what's available to people to consume and help to grow cells and other things, this is just remarkable.
Who was someone that inspired you to get into science and research?
The person I always point to is my high school biology, chemistry professor. In high school, I always thought he was more like a magician. So in the front of class, he would, have test tubes and things. This is, my younger days. And I'd always remember him running a reaction with an enzyme and showing like colors changing and going back and forth. And I was in awe, and I was sold then.
More specifically, who is your inspiration in the field of cell ag?
Oh, in Cell Ag, it's Isha Datar from New Harvest. Isha is just a born leader, inspirational leader, very down to earth though. I talked to her a lot, and she really helped us get started because she really through New Harvest, was able to provide our first 3 graduate fellowships when there was no public money to support the field. So really important. But just Isha as a person, she's just really remarkable.
What have been some of the highlights of your career thus far?
Whoa, there's so many. You know, I mean, we've been very fortunate. We've had, you know, at Tufts, I've been here almost 30 years. We have a whole series of advances in areas like biomedical devices. Some of these are in people today, right? So I think some of the early work we've done on materials that have gone into devices that are in our spin-off companies or other places are helping patients do better. I mean, this is a great thing. Earlier work on you know, coatings, protein coatings on foods to preserve the food better so that food doesn't spoil as quickly. To address food waste is another great example. We have some really good work on Alzheimer's related studies, and then obviously all of our cell ag work is, so I'd say there's a whole string of things I feel really good about from the group.
Well, that's great. What's the goal you have for the future?
I want to see cell ag become the thing, right, at Tufts and well beyond in the world, to make a difference in what people are going to eat and really impact consumers in the long term. And I see that progression starting to happen, and we just want to keep that momentum up.
What is the best advice you have ever received in your career?
Don't take no, and keep you know, be confident in your decisions and own it, right?
This is a nice office. I hear some chirping. Do you have crickets in here?
Yeah, so Sophie, one of our PhD students, is keeping her cricket colony in my office because it's a good space for them. And some mornings they're quiet, some mornings they're very busy, and it's kind of nice. It's a very natural sounding local feel in the office.
When was this cricket farm started?
I think she started about 6 months ago, maybe a little less. You know, we need to be able to isolate the newborn, the eggs, from the cricket. So that's why we need the colony, so we can isolate cells for cell ag related foods.
Does it ever get distracting during meetings?
Always, and it's wonderful. And sometimes people will comment on Zoom that they hear it in the background, which is kind of nice.
Would you ever eat lab-grown meat?
I will, and I have.
Well, what about lab-grown insect meat?
I can't wait to try it.
Fascinating. Have you ever tried a cultured meat product?
I have.
So cool. What was it?
I was fortunate to try Upside Foods chicken and pate.
And you would eat it again?
Oh, it was fantastic. Yes, I'd eat it in a second.
I'm very curious. Did you think these cultured meat products were comparable to traditional meat?
Absolutely.
What do you think is the target audience for Cell Ag?
I'm not sure there's one target audience. I think the idea is to provide an alternative to consumers, get consumers more comfortable with it, and then gradually see the demand grow.
What do you think are some of the biggest obstacles in the field right now?
There's always a series of obstacles. From the scientific and technological standpoint, it's still bringing costs down and scaling production up, so that's not going away. And the other obstacle is more on the academic public funding side, although it's gotten better. There's still a long way to go to support many more labs to do the fundamental research that's needed.
I see. What do you think needs to be done to combat these adversities?
The ones that I just mentioned in terms of limitations?
Yeah.
I think hopefully government initiatives, and you're starting to see this, where they'll support more funding to different academic labs. And I think you're seeing great progress in scaling and great progress in bringing costs down with just the last few years with advances in the science and engineering going on.
And what about the farmers? How will Cell Ag affect them?
I think actually in the long run, farmers will be doing more and more to support food production through cell ag, whether it's the raw materials or whether it's having their farmland also available for other activities that they may want to use. And I think it'd just be a very gradual shift as this cell ag alternative comes to fruition. So I don't think it's going to be a drastic change. It'll be an evolution of focus and efforts on farms.
Why is academic research integral to cell ag's commercialization?
I think at minimum you need public confidence in what's going on, and the only way to get that information out there is through academic, peer-reviewed research that people can look at and understand what's going on, because the private sector, you can't really have access to that. So I think that's really important, and it's also important for the companies to have places like an academic lab to come to talk about sort of some of the scientific challenges and opportunities. So we hopefully can be helpful not only on the science front, but also in workforce development, training students that can be employed in these companies going forward.
What are your personal motivations for conducting cell ag research?
So many. Where do I start? Number one, the students, right? I mean, just students are so passionate about this field. As I said before, doesn't matter what level they are, high school, undergrad, grad, postdoc. I've never seen students this motivated about a topic before. And, for those of us who love animals, that's another driver, obviously. Healthier eating, I think that's something cell ag can really make a difference with. And, I'm a techno guy, right? I mean, I will try and use any new science and engineering possible. New apparatus, doesn't matter. So cell ag brings it all together, right? It's a confluence of technology along with biology, nutrition, food. Who doesn't like food, right? So it's a win on all fronts that I think about.
Can you tell us more about the USDA grant?
Sure, yeah. I mean, so we're a little over a year into the grant. We wrote the grant about 2 years ago. And the grant is really, I would call it a foundation for our program and for many programs to see public funding going to support cell ag at a significant level. So it has a major impact on us and many other programs.
What do you hope to be the biggest impact of this work?
I think the impact is very simple, and that is the mandate from the Department of Agriculture is that we serve as a center of excellence for cell ag, which we are. And that allows people, whether it's companies, the public, whoever wants information, wants guidance, wants training, wants trained students, they know to come here and they'll get support and help towards those goals.
That's amazing. Which schools are part of this group?
So Tufts is the lead, and then there's a total of 6 institutions. It's Tufts, Virginia Tech is my main partner, UC Davis, MIT, University of Massachusetts, Boston, and Virginia State University.
And what are the main goals?
Main goals are really to build foundational science to support the field of cell ag, and really that is transparency in the research, get the word out there so people know what works and maybe what doesn't work, and guide the process along with developing student skills so they can go out there and help the field grow.
Can you tell us more about the specific work being done?
Sure. I mean, it's a long list, so I'll be very brief though. So everything from consumer surveys to what consumers think about in terms of these new or future foods, as we call them, to isolating and characterizing new cells that can support production of food in laboratories and eventually companies, to the right scaffolding, media ingredients, reducing media costs, to nutrition and safety analysis, and sort of everything in between. Really kind of one-stop shopping, right? From ingredients all the way to product, and making sure the process is as efficient as possible, fully published along the way, and safe and healthy to eat.
How has it been collaborating with people across the country?
It's fantastic. It's amazing to collaborate not only across the country but around the world. And I love it because our former students are all around the world, and then students can come visit us from all around the world as well and spend time in the lab, whether they've taken our courses online and then they end up coming to the lab, to just having interactions with labs on the West Coast with us, to the middle of the country, along with folks overseas.
How's the year one review event?
The year one review was just amazing to get everyone together because of COVID, it had been hard to do that, but everyone got together and kind of to hear everything in one place for the first time was, I think, a really pivotal moment for the program, 1 year into the 5-year grant. And I think everyone left with a really positive feeling that everyone's working together, the synergy is there, we're making really good progress, and we have an amazing student team involved and leading a lot of the outreach efforts, which is really rewarding as well.
I know Mark Post was a guest speaker at the event. How was that?
Mark was great. I think he told his personal story as well as what he's doing now, and I think the audience really appreciated it. Mark's very down to earth and really a pioneer in the field. So having him at our 1 year sort of review was really, I think, important as well.
What are some of the next projects and goals of the grant?
So our next few years, we want to continue to move costs down, right? Because as I said, we made some progress, but there's still a lot of work to do to get the cost for production to a level that's going to be competitive with current foods. And number two, to really look at what I would call more creative ways to scale. Getting away from just traditional stir tank reactors and really looking at novel approaches like our textile-based system or other systems where you can really keep costs down but scale production up.
What are some other important initiatives going on outside of this grant?
Oh, one of my favorites is back to your cricket question, right? And that is, can insects become one of the foods of the future, right? The insect cells, because of the nutrition, hopefully flavor, lower costs for production and scaling, but there's a lot of sort of barriers there in terms of consumer perceptions that we'll have to deal with. But yes, we're very interested in looking at sort of non-traditional sources of cells for cell ag support. The other area I just mentioned briefly is what I call either therapeutic foods or personalized foods, where we can engineer in nutritional enhancements to the cells we use in cell ag to maybe match a particular population. Maybe it's the elderly population or diabetics or something like this. So I think those are really going to be important areas we want to continue to push forward with.
I saw the recent FDA approval news. Can you tell us about why this approval was so important?
Highly significant, right? You have all these companies in the States waiting to get their products out, but no way to do it until the government approves the process. So we're now seeing that opening up, and you'll start to see hopefully products getting out there, at least in restaurants to start, and then eventually larger scale. And obviously that happened in Singapore 2 years ago, and the first product has been out there in restaurants for a couple of years. I think you'll see it starting to happen in Europe and then in China, and then it's going to become more commonplace.
What product are you most excited to see?
Which product?
Yes.
Any cell ag product I'm excited to see, particularly if it's available and you can taste it, right? So I think anything like this will be important because consumers will be able to get more and more familiar with the technology.
What are some of the coolest cell ag companies in your opinion?
Ooh, I'll pick one out. I think if you want to think non-traditional, you could look at Vogue, right? Vogue, based out of Australia, is really pioneering non-traditional cell sources to make foods of the future that no one's ever really tried before. And that goes back to my insect comment. I think that's the kind of thing we're after with the insects as well. So Vogue is interesting just because they will be producing foods for consumers to try that no one's ever tasted before. And I think that's a real value to cell ag. You can start to open up palates to things that haven't been domesticated as animal sources of food. And this will really, I think, give us a whole new template to work from for new foods to try.
Do you think people will ever entirely switch over to cultured meat?
I think some people might. A lot of people won't, but it'll be a good choice, and there'll be alternatives like this, and people can sort of mix and match. So I think you'll see quite a diversity of choices in the population, which will be great.
Do Do you think it is ever too late to get into this field?
Never. There's so much still to do. So yeah, there's opportunities at every part of this process, whether it's the science and engineering, whether it's the regulatory side, whether it's the consumer side, whether it's the government regulation side. There's plenty of opportunities. This field is going to be the future of food, and if you think about the impact of food on our everyday life, whether it's from the farmer to the processor to the supermarkets to going shopping, there's so many places you can have an impact going forward as this field grows.
This has all been so fascinating to learn about. How can people at Tufts get more involved in cell ag?
Come talk to my students, come talk to me anytime. We love chatting and getting people involved.
And outside of Tufts, how can people in general get more involved?
If they have interest, they can look locally. If there's like a student alt protein club at all the local universities in different parts of the country, there are different academic labs all around. They can visit their USDA, outreach offices around the country and learn more. And I think that'll be more and more accessible with time as well as we do our job and others do their job to get the word out. So, reach out and if you can't find an answer, just reach out to one of us here at Tufts and we'll direct you to the right people.
Okay, last question. What advice would you give someone looking to do work with cellular agriculture?
Fantastic. Embrace it, get involved, and learn, and then see where you go with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.